All right, so as I mentioned earlier on, KwaZulu-Natal ANC Deputy Chairperson Mabuyakhulu has stepped aside from his position with immediate effect. Now, this is in line with the party's step-aside resolution, which states that all members who are facing serious charges must step aside. All right, in a letter written to the provincial secretary in the province, Mabuyakhulu indicated that it was an easy decision for him to make, as he had previously recused himself from a position in 2019 to clear his name. It remains unclear whether the party secretary general Ace Magashule has stepped aside, as he's facing multiple charges of corruption. Meanwhile, the ANC's National Working Committee has reaffirmed the NEC's decision that all members who have been charged with corruption or other serious crimes must step aside within 30 days. Others who are charged with serious crimes include Bongani Bongo, Denim Caesar and Zandile Kumete. For more on this, we cross to political analyst Ongama Mtimka. Ongama, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to The Full View.
Good evening, Simpio. Thank you for having me.
Well, now that Mike Mabuyakhulu is now the first casualty of the ANC step-aside resolution, I suppose all eyes will now be on Ace Magashule, the party secretary general. Will this start a domino effect within the party?
So if you read Mike Mabuyakhulu's letter, it is as much about his own resignation as it is an appeal to the principles and values that have driven those who are members of the ANC, that, democratic centralism, as well as also serving at the will of the people and being bound by organizational processes and structures. Because I think that this is a letter that asserts the idea that there's nothing that he himself did which was outside of what was in the best interest of the organization. As you read the letter, even as he gives us wind of how important it was at the time that he was elected, for him to ascend to office around this thing of bringing unity in that province, but also how conscientious he was in the process of crafting lists to legislatures, that he stated how he was not available on the basis of the charges that he was facing. So this kind of a message is not just useful in terms of being able to understand the reasoning of Mike Mabuyakhulu, but also it's important in terms of his own appeal to his own comrades with respect to how they should read the instruction of both the conference of the ANC as well as the recent NEC decision.
Is there not a danger, though, of a selective application of this rule, that the fact that it might apply to certain members and it will not apply to other members? I mean, can the ANC really afford to implement this rule fully? Remember that the President Cyril Ramaphosa appeared before the Zondo Commission and said that the ANC is accused number one when it comes to corruption.
By delineating the scope such that only those who are charged have been compelled to step down is already a selective approach. Rule 25, I think up to about 17 of the ANC Constitution spells out what it regards as acts of misconduct. And what is listed therein are more than just criminal charges before courts. Issues of integrity and morality are also highlighted. So if there's an issue about selective application, it will only arise if those who are criminally charged are not treated in the same way, which is part of the ploy by the Secretary General to try and augment his power in order to stymie the process. Otherwise, it's already selective when you state that only those who are charged should step aside. But the NEC, in its own wisdom, has arrived at that decision. So what's expected from the membership of the party would be to comply with the decision, even as some may argue that there should be a broadening of the scope so that everybody who has brought the party into disrepute and the Integrity Commission has applied themselves to their case, steps aside. That's another debate. But what's standing at the moment are those who are criminally charged to step aside. It's a limited application, it's selective, but as things stand, that's what the party has decided in its wisdom.
Well, Mabuyakhulu told the ANC top six on Sunday that he will not voluntarily step down. So what should happen to him? Because clearly he's not willing to go down without a fight.
So what we should read from, first of all, the top six deciding that he should be, or he or all those who are facing criminal charges should be suspended, plus the NWC concurring with that decision, it shows that the power dynamics at the higher echelons of ANC leadership have shifted decidedly more towards those either who are supportive of President Cyril Ramaphosa, or in general, those who are a lot more sensitive to the views of electorate and how they see the ANC. Because these actions that we're now seeing are attempts to respond to the public gaze. Because the ANC, in its attempts to try and renew itself or ensure that its institutional mechanisms to self-correct are strengthened, it's all attempts that are responding to a much more sensitive voter than the ANC enjoyed in the period leading up to 2009.
Ongama, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your analysis on this matter.
Thank you.
All right, that was political analyst Ongama Mtimka joining us via Zoom, just sharing his reflection with us about the latest development coming from the ANC camp. And the big story of the day is that the ANC Deputy Chairperson in KwaZulu-Natal, Mabuyakhulu, has stepped aside, and he becomes the first casualty of the ANC's step-aside rule.